In this video, I'm looking at finding the standard deviation of the data in this frequency table. So the rule for standard deviation is we use the letter sigma with the square root of the sum of the frequency times the difference between each score and the mean squared divided by how many things there are, or our total. So the first thing we're really going to need to calculate is the mean, because we're going to want to take the difference between each score and the mean, square it, and then multiply by the frequency. So that's our target first. So to calculate our mean, the first thing we're going to need to do is add on some extra rows or extra columns to this table. So we're going to need a whole bunch anyway, so I'm going to extend the rows out a fair way so that we have plenty of space to work with throughout this calculation. So the first thing we need is to calculate the mean, and that requires that we do the x times the f column, or f times f column, f times x or x times f, whichever way you want to say it. So what we have is, this is the score times the frequency, so we're going to have 12 times 2, which is 24, and then we're going to have 13 times 3, which is 39, and then we're just going to keep multiplying these down. So 14 times 5 is 70, 15 times 6 is 90, and 16 times 4 is 64. And then we want to add those up, so the sum of my xf column is going to be 24 plus 39 plus 70 plus 90 plus 64, which gives me a total of 287. So that's finished with the first column that we need, and the reason we need that is because we need our mean. And our mean states that we have the sum of xf divided by the sum of the frequencies, or our total. So we have a sum of xf of being 287, and divide that by our sum of frequencies, or our total of 20, and we get a mean of 14.35. So what we're wanting to do now is we can now do the next step, which is calculate the difference between each score and that mean. That's what we're after next. So we're going to want to take our scores and subtract off our mean. So we're going to have 12 minus 14.35, then 13 minus 14.35, then 14 minus 14.35. And we're going to want to work all these out. So this is going to give me 11 point, oops, not 11 point, this is going to give me negative 2.35. This will be giving negative 1, whoops, negative equals negative 1.35. This will equal negative 0.35. 15 minus 14.35 is 0.65, and 16 minus 14.35 is 1.65. So that gives us our x minus our mean, our scores minus our mean. So now we want to square all of these values. So our next column in our table is going to be these x minus the mean values. We're going to want these, and we're going to want to square them. So we're going to take negative 2.35, and we're going to square it, and we're going to end up with 5.52. Then we'll take our negative 1.35 and square it, and that's going to give me 1.82. So we have a negative 0.35 squared is going to give me 0.12. 0.65 squared is 0.42, and 1.65 squared is 2.72. So we're almost done with that table. Now we just have one last column to work out. This last column is going to be our our scores minus our mean squareds that we've just calculated, and we're going to then go and times those by the frequency. So that'll give us this top row once we add all these up. So we're going to have our 5.52, and we're going to multiply it by 2. And that would give us 11.05. And then we're going to take our 1.82 and multiply it by 3. And that's going to give me 5.47. 5.47. And take 0.12 and multiply it by a frequency of 5. And that's going to give me 0.61. Then we're going to have 0.42, and we're going to multiply it by 6 to get 2.54. And then lastly 2.72, multiply it by 4, and we have 10.89. Okay, now we can calculate the last thing, which is to add up this column. So we're going to add up 11.05 and 5.47 and 0.61 and 2.54 and 10.89, and we're going to add these up because that will give us the sum of our frequencies times the mean difference between the scores and the mean squared. And so we'll end up with, adding all those up gives us 30.55. So now we can go down to our standard deviation rule, which means that we can have the square root of that 30.55 on the top, because that's that top half, and then we're going to divide by how many things we've got, and that's going to give, that's our total of 20, and that's going to give us square root of 1.53, which gives us a standard deviation in the end of 1.24. So that means that on average, each score is 1.24 away from this, our mean of 14.35.